Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So the topic for this one actually comes from the comments section of my previous video where I asked you guys what you wanted to see on the next episode of Make the Switch. And the one game in particular that got unanimous support across the board was y'all wanted to see my impressions on Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Y'all wanted to see how the Switch version stacks up to the other versions and if this is a competent port. Now that video is still in production. I actually took a break from playing the game to get on here to record this because the more and more I played Xenoverse 2, and this will be a little bit of a sneak peek for that video, the more I played the game, the more surprised I was with how well the game ran on the system. I'm not going to say much else. I'm not going to really get into the specifics. I'll save that for the Make the Switch episode. But it got me thinking about the possibility for more legitimate fighting games on the platform. And of course, I couldn't talk about fighters on Switch and Dragon Ball without referencing the elephant in the room. I'm of course talking about the potential possibility for a port of the upcoming Dragon Ball FighterZ. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to call it FighterZ. Yeah, that game coming to the Switch. A lot of people were actually disappointed when the game got revealed. They confirmed it for PlayStation, Xbox, and surprisingly PC, but no Switch version. There are obvious reasons as to why a lot of games are skipping the Switch year one. I don't need to explain to you guys the reasons as to why. It should be self-explanatory. But with all the momentum that the Switch has garnered in the past couple of months, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to see a port of FighterZ down the road. But it is definitely more of a possibility than a lot of people think. And what I want to do here is just compile all of the data that I've garnered. Now, this is not confirming a Switch version of FighterZ in any stretch of the imagination, but when you start to read between the lines from a lot of the things from Bandai Namco, you start to see that, maybe it is a little bit more possible. We're going to first start out with Xenoverse 2 and how it's supported on the Switch. Why would they port this game a year later to the Switch? It would make no sense whatsoever because it's just another Dragon Ball game, but I actually think there's a reason as to why. Not only is porting a game to a platform easier, it's cheaper to develop for, especially if you've already got the tech made, but when you have a game that's as big as Dragon Ball appearing on a brand new system, that is more than just we want to get this game out on as many systems as possible. No, this isn't just another Dragon Ball game. This is one of the few games where Namco actually puts a lot of effort into increasing the longevity of it. This is one of the first Dragon Ball games where they actually emphasize DLC, the Xenoverse series. It's really heavy on the DLC content, unlike other games in the franchise where you just occasionally get DLC here and there. What that means, whether it's good or bad for the game compared to the old ones, is neither here nor there. But yeah, there was definitely a lot going into the Switch version. I mean, they put a lot of effort into this to making sure that it stacked up to the other platforms. They went above and beyond to make sure that it had the motion controls. They actually put a lot of effort into this port, which you don't really see with too many conversions. Like a straight port to a system would just be the game itself with minimal upgrades. But they went above and beyond for this one. And they've actually seen some returns for it. We actually got some concrete sales data here. Now, this is from the beginning of November. Namco reported that they sold more than 400,000 copies of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 on Nintendo Switch. Not PlayStation, not Xbox, not PC. That is just Switch alone, which is crazy to think about considering the entirety of the game has sold 3.3 million units, which is just insane to think about. So that right there, selling 400,000 units is a pretty big accomplishment when you consider the Switch's install base, the fact that it's year one, and that this is a game coming out a year later, a Dragon Ball game no less. That's definitely going to turn some heads in the investors' meetings, especially when it comes to putting out other games on the system. So the next bit of news that we have right here comes off of the heels of the success of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Namco announced that they were going to be supporting the Nintendo Switch more than they already have. So, they have the smaller games here and there, and of course, Xenoverse 2 was arguably their biggest title to hit the system, but they have confirmed that they actually have 3 Switch exclusives in the works for 2018. Now, whether that means it's going to be a brand new IP built for the ground up for the Switch, whether that means it's going to be and you can kind of get away with this because it is a loophole. a Switch edition like Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, it does have some content that doesn't exist in the PS4 and Xbox One, so technically it is a Switch exclusive and enhanced version. I know, but when you gotta deal with these companies, you gotta read between the lines to the business mumbo jumbo. When it comes to game development, I don't think they've really had too many games in the work for the Switch. When you look at all the big games that released, Tales of Berseria, Tekken 7, all those games were made with PlayStation 4, Xbox, PC in mind. With the Switch, honestly, at the very earliest, I could see them developing for it sometime late last year, maybe early this year. But in some cases, I would think that they started developing it now. So the possibility of seeing a new game doesn't seem likely unless it's something very small like an arcade title. But the possibility of ports is a different story entirely. They have confirmed that we will be seeing Tales appear on the Nintendo Switch, whether that's a port of Berseria, a port of Vesperia, please, or a new game entirely. Who's to say? But when they say they have 3 new titles for the system, I'm more inclined to believe that those are ports of existing games, mainly due to the fact that it is much easier for them to port the games on the system, especially if they have the engine. Now, why is this relevant to Dragon Ball FighterZ? Number one, the sales data for Xenoverse 2, a game that's not even really technically a fighter, this game was very surprising. Couple that with the fact that they have a couple of games in the work for the Switch. Also couple that to the fact that FighterZ runs on Unreal Engine 4, which we've seen here is proven to be very scalable on Nintendo Switch. We haven't really seen a game that's utilized it to its full potential yet on the platform, but it is more developer friendly as opposed to the other engines that they tried to get working on the Nintendo Wii, the 3DS, the Wii U, etc., etc. Unreal Engine 4 is one of the more premier engines that can actually run on the Switch. So when you combine all that stuff together, it just seems kind of obvious for them to go out there and put a version of FighterZ on the Switch. Whether that means we're going to get the exact same version is kind of up in the air. It just all depends on how well they can optimize it. I really want to see what they do with the Unreal Engine 4. If they're able to maintain that level of quality at 60 frames, I think that this could be a really big system seller. Because not only do you get to play this amazing fighter, but you can play the game with you on the go. With it. Whether you want to bring your Pro Controller or you want to whip out the arcade stick, it is still a much better alternative as to lugging around a PlayStation or Xbox or your gaming PC. So I think that in that respect, they can do a lot of good with a FighterZ port on the system. And I think it will convince a lot of other developers who are making fighters that the Switch can be a viable option, especially if you want to do tournaments on the go. It's a much easier alternative and easier for all your friends to get together, hook up a wireless fight pad and just go to town if you don't want to bring along the fight stick and the dock to connect it via USB. That's basically all I wanted to discuss in this video. I think that they can make it work because if BlazBlue can run on the Vita and the 3DS at somewhat decent settings, they should have no problem bringing Dragon Ball FighterZ to the Switch, especially considering that we've seen them go above and beyond for like PlayStation 3 games, like look at the BlazBlue titles. So with this game right here, yeah, they'll have to dial back a couple of effects, but 60 frames per second really should be the standard for fighters on any platform. I mean, even Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 runs at 60 frames per second when you are doing 1v1 fighting. So it's definitely possible for this one. Anyways, what do you guys think about this? Let me know down below in the comment section. For me, for now, my name is NGS, signing out. And like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace.